It's the next Darren Aronofsky movie, Caught Stealing. Of course I went to see Aronofsky. What I think of this, and should you try to watch this? I'm definitely going to tell you coming up next. Before we get going, subscribe to my Substack, Letterboxd, and please become a member of the channel, something like that. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is the 9th Aronofsky movie. I've seen them all. I've enjoyed his work since I was a teenager and Pi came out, one of my favorite science fiction movies. My favorite movies of that period in the late 90s. Well, he returns to the late 90s and Caught Stealing, a movie set in New York City, 1998, where Austin Butler plays a bartender named Hank Thompson, Lower East Side. He's down and out. He does have a girlfriend. He's an alcoholic, though. He's running from his past. In fact, caught stealing. He's an ex-baseball prospect, but he got in a car wreck and it was devastating. So there's going to be a lot of baseball overlap in this. In fact, he's obsessed with the San Francisco Giants and I think the pennant race in 1998 between them and the New York Mets, who are local and right nearby. That and alcohol are obsessions, among other things. And yet this is an Aronofsky movie. Single man, obsessed with a couple of things, very broken. It's going to be dark. And frankly, there's a lot of overlap, a shocking amount, with Pi, including the groups that are going to end up chasing Hank Thompson around. About that, he has a couple next door neighbors. One of them is an English punk guy. Looks like he was in the Sex Pistols. And while this guy's away in England visiting his family, two thugs knock on his door, beat up Hank. They beat him up so badly a kidney is removed from him. And this just spirals out of control because it turns out the neighbor has some money, and these two thugs want money, but there are other people involved and very criminal masterminds involved in this pursuit. Therefore, Hank ends up being sort of a wrong man in what I would call a darkly punk Hitchcock movie. It does have a couple of homages to Vertigo, among other things. But Hank's a wrong man. Austin Butler plays a guy who's running from people, running from his past, and running from everything else. Frankly, I don't want to give too much away. The script is by the writer of the novel, the original novel, Charlie Huston. The script is pretty good overall. I at least appreciate a sort of a coherent and play-by-numbers script where almost everything matters, and there's going to be a lot of surprises. It sets you up like a good baseball pitcher to fool you on the next pitch, and I love the ride of this movie. For the most part, the third act pilled out a tiny bit for me, but I really enjoy this movie as in some ways, as a straightforward thriller that I could watch on the weekend and just sort of enjoy casually. Although, it does do a little bit of philosophical work, as Aronofsky always does. And of course, he's interpreting this script, so it probably comes from Mr. Huston as well. But this is one of those classic Hitchcock movies in which, these characters run around after a key that's going to get them money. And our hero, Hank Thompson, knows where this key is, or maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But really, that's a sort of MacGuffin. What's going on here in part is the character problems that this guy has. He keeps calling his mother, whom we never see, but we actually do late in the movie. And he cares for her, he cares for baseball, and he'll end up caring for Buddy the cat, his neighbor, his English punk neighbor's cat, who, when the neighbor leaves, the cat comes over to Hank's. Hank doesn't want him. Hank wants a dog, but the cat's awfully cute, and I like cats, so hey, I'm interested in a cat movie. But this isn't just like the Coen Brothers Inside Llewyn Davis, in which the cat makes an appearance and then doesn't appear from the rest of the movie. Robert Altman's Long Goodbye does the same thing. This cat's a main character, as it turns out. I think, actually, one of the keys, if I could pun on that, is the cat. Part of the movie is about care and taking care of something and being a buddy to something, and almost nobody is. You run into a lot of criminals, murders, a lot of violence in this movie, of course, and who's going to care for whom and why. And this is part of, I think, Hank's problem, and he has to learn to care for this, for something. Care, I almost want to say it in a Martin Heidegger way. Go read Heidegger. Oh, wait, don't. That's really difficult. But who and what you care about is actually one of the focuses of this movie. Maybe Hank, he certainly cares too much about alcohol. He's a drunk, or could be a drunk. He turns to alcohol when the kidney is taken out, and he should not do this. He cares a ton about baseball. He's obsessed with San Francisco Giants, and I think that's part of the key to the end of this movie. So there's criminals and there's cops, and Hank has to choose which one in the typical Hitchcock fashion. Probably should fear cops a little bit, a lot of fear. And then there's murderous Hasidic Jews who show up later in this movie. As always, Aronofsky wants to talk about religion and law keeping versus something else, real faith, who knows what. The Hasidic Jews are played, it took me a long time to figure out who they were. Liv Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio. I actually didn't like their characters as much as I thought I would, but I like the ideas of them. And so to me, this movie is it's well directed for sure. I thought it was pretty well acted. It's a solid thriller and it's got a little meat on the bone. So I'm going to recommend it to most people, even though one of the refrains in the movie is, "It's a sad world, it's a broken world," said many, many times. And of course, Hank, as sort of a, Jack Nicholson Chinatown hero, is going to get beat up a lot. You're going to cringe in a couple of moments if you don't like staples being pulled out of surgical scars. Well, that too is actually a reference to Pi, and there's going to be a beach scene in which the character has a revelation of beach. But there I go into Aronofsky's prior work. It's typical auteur. He's got lots of patterns in his movies, which he likes to use, or which he ends up using inadvertently over and over again. Because I'm interested in movies like this, they're for adults. They're usually solid at least. Everything is pretty good to decent to great about this movie. I actually like Austin Butler in this too. I give this 3.5 to 4 stars. It's not Aronofsky's best artistic work. Is it like super complex and rich and you could talk about it all year long, but it's pretty good enough. So we don't get a lot of these movies, and I could be overrating it for that reason, but I can at least recommend it to the adults in the room who like thrillers. Circa the 1990s, when Aronofsky got started, and here he's got this movie set in that very period of time. But what do you think of Caught Stealing? Let us know in the comments, and of course, please subscribe to the channel for more great content and reviews, and go to Letterboxd, Substack, etc. Thank you very much. Have a great day.